What's happening, guys and girls? Acrinator here, and welcome to this relatively impromptu video. I originally hadn't planned on making anything about Overwatch such as this, but an idea came to me while watching a few videos discussing the mentality of the community, and I felt I just had to get my thoughts out there, especially considering I don't really see anyone else talking about this kind of concept. Before letting my mind go wild, I did want to give credit where credit is due. I originally came up with this idea after watching a Terios video about how people act in quick play, of which I'll have linked in the cards in the top right of the screen as well as in the description below. There have also been a few people on the forums talking about similar ideas to what I'll be saying, though there are some differences with our suggestions. I'll link the forum posts I've found in the description as well for those who care. So let's dive straight into the meat of this video. Instead of merely reporting and punishing bad behavior like Blizzard has attempted to do for the past year or so, I think they should also look into a way to encourage good behavior and team play. This isn't an entirely new concept, as there are plenty of scientific articles published on this topic. Negative reinforcement such as banning and muting players works best when offset by rewarding those who are genuinely being kind and respectful towards their fellow teammates. I understand that it may seem weird to reward someone for acting like a rational human being, but considering the magnitude of the toxicity problem in Overwatch, I think there does in fact need to be something that Blizzard can point to and say, act like this. Ideally, this would encourage players to work together with their team in order to not only win, but to try their hand at receiving a Good Samaritan award. The difficulty with a reward system such as this would be making sure that it wouldn't break the game's economy and ensuring that it couldn't be easily abused. This is where my plan, if you want to call it that, differs a bit from where most others who've suggested this kind of system be put into place. The way I see it, a reward system would have to be somewhat restrictive to avoid creating an even bigger mess further on down the line. What I imagine for this would be some sort of voting system at the end of the game, where each player is given one vote to give to someone else on their team. The rewarded player would get a very small bonus to experience or gold or something along those lines. It would have to be a very small reward, but the game would also have to make a very big deal out of it. Let's run with the extra experience example I gave for now in order to better visualize the concept. Take something like the SR calculation screen at the end of each competitive match, but instead of SR, it would display the bonus reward for the chosen player. Some big flashy animations with a satisfying display of effects would make the person feel special about being a good person, making them want more of that reward. This works off the same effect on the brain getting likes or shares on social media has. These sorts of things have been proven to release dopamine in the brain, making the person feel good regardless of how meaningful their actions actually were. The size of the reward isn't necessarily important here, within reason, just so long as the community decides that they care about receiving it. I wouldn't even go as far to say that this is misleading in any way either, because good players would indeed be getting more than anyone else. The key here is to make sure that the reward doesn't go too far. The limitations of the reward system would be extremely significant, because it's not like Blizzard could afford to give players a free loot box every time they're kind to others in a game. That would probably destroy their bottom line. That's why I suggested bonus experience, because it really only helps to level the players up a bit at a time. Let's say that you'd receive an extra 100 experience per reward per game. This just makes the math a bit easier. Like I said before, you'd only be able to give this reward to someone else on your team, so no giving it to your opponents. They can get it from their own team if they really deserve it. You should probably be disallowed from giving it to people in your party as well, since that wouldn't be fair to everyone else. You'd only get one reward to give out per match, and you wouldn't necessarily have to give it out if you didn't feel that anyone was deserving of it. When the match concludes and the standard post-game cards and whatnot show up, the reward screen would pop up at the very end if you received anything. It wouldn't say anything about who gave it to you, just that X amount of people from your team rewarded you for being a good Samaritan. If you solo queued and everyone on your team gave it to you, in this example you'd get 500 bonus experience for being a good person. Some of the other people I found in the forums talking about the good behavior reward systems have talked about more lucrative gifts, such as exclusive skins or cosmetics. I don't think that this is a good idea, because then there would be a level of competitiveness in a system that's supposed to be as wholesome as possible. You don't want people getting tilted because they weren't given any rewards. You just want them to play the game like normal and get these bonuses as they're earned. Now, of course, this system is open to the potential for abuse by some, though it's flat out wrong to assume that everyone would try to abuse it. We simply don't have the statistics showing how many people are that scummy. And I'd place my money more so on people just wanting to play the game for fun, rather than stress out about such a minimalistic reward. It wouldn't be a bad idea to have a display somewhere on the career profile for how many of these Good Samaritan rewards people have received, not necessarily for anything other than showing off those who go above and beyond to be good people. There's an increasing number of players as of late who've said that they'd rather have double the queue times if it meant that they could have a genuine game instead of a toxic mess. A system encouraging team play won't fix people's attitudes if they're dead set on being jerks, but it likely will sway some of the moderates into being less testy. Earlier this year, I put out a video about the toxicity in the community, and I feel underwhelmed by that project now. I didn't come up with any suggestions about how to fix the fatigue the player base was and still is feeling, which, looking back, didn't help very much. I don't think a system rewarding good behavior is the catch-all to fix everything wrong with the game and the mentality surrounding it, but I figure it's a step in the right direction. So leave your thoughts on this idea, as well as any suggestions you might have in the the comments below, since I'm sure there's something I overlooked that some of you may have the answer to. If you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more like it, maybe even subscribe. Links to my social media and whatnot are in the description below, and that's all the time I've got for today, so until next time, don't die.